Well, sheer frustration for one. And because of the financial pressures, it's being reported and it's been alleged that there's thousands of suicides that are attributed to the Child Maintenance Service. And we know this because in the oral hearings in 2022, Debbie Abrahams, who was an MP, she confronted Arling Sugden, who was the director of the Child Maintenance Service at the time. And Debbie was cross-examining her as to what happens when a paying parent commits suicide. They hold an internal review that is not published anywhere. Surely that's marking your own homework.
Exactly.
Something as important as this, even if the system worked perfectly and everything was being conformed to, all the legislation, and if paying parents were still committing suicide, there would have to be an investigation into that. But the system isn't working, and thousands of paying parents are taking their own lives. It's a very, very serious problem, and nobody's talking about it. And everyone who's involved in these select committees and these oral hearings, and they're so flippant. And this is what I can't understand. Everybody's response is just completely flippant. And why? Because it seems to me that the establishment, and certainly the government, have pumped this narrative out there that fathers just don't want to pay for their children and that they're woman beaters. It's wrong. It's just completely wrong.
Brian Hudson did some Freedom of Information requests and found that the mortality rate for these paying parents is over 14 times the national average. That's a massive figure. I mean, do you have any examples of parents who have taken their lives because of this?
There's a very high-profile case of Gavin Briggs and his father, Ian Briggs, I'm in quite close contact with. And I mean, this man's life has been absolutely destroyed by what's happened, by the death of his son. And I have spoken about this, that Gavin's income was inflated to £76,500 and he was given nearly £17,000 of arrears, just shy of £17,000 of fictitious arrears. And Gavin numerous times contacted the CMS and they refused to adjust the calculations. And Gavin had got himself into such a dark place that he bought a disposable barbecue. He lit it in his car, drove off into a field and sat there and poisoned himself.
So he couldn't afford to pay to the degree that he just felt there was no other way
They were going
out.
to leave him with £150 a month to live on.
Really?
Yeah. £150 a month. There's another case of Johnny O'Neill, and he was on a DEO. The amount of times that this man had contacted the CMS, begging them and pleading with them, and the family begging these people to adjust the calculations and look at his case, and they refused to do it. And then, unfortunately, Johnny took his own life as well, and left his sister and his mother with their lives completely turned upside down now. And these are just, these are one of many. And the Hudson report that you're referring to, yes, he has concluded that paying parents with arrears are 14 times more likely to be dead. And he's also concluded that it's 1,013 paying parents annually have taken their lives as well.
Wow, that's a massive figure.
It's a humongous figure. And he has challenged a lot of people, and nobody has challenged his study that he's done. He's a very clever man, Brian. Very, very clever man. And how he's put that study together. And I do believe that mathematicians and professors have actually looked at the report. And they've actually come to the same conclusions with the figures that he's produced, that it is fair and it is accurate. So why is this not being addressed? If the Hudson report is correct and the mortality rate is of 1,013 paying parents taking their lives annually. Why is it something not being done about it? I know many paying parents who've contacted the National Fraud Line. They've contacted the police. They've contacted the National Crime Agency. They've contacted the National Audit Office. And they keep saying it's a civil matter. I can't understand how it's a civil matter if this fraudulent debt has been carried over into the child maintenance service. They're distributing that debt onto paying parents' accounts, and as a result of that, they're taking their own lives. Why is that not being investigated by the authorities, by the appropriate authorities? Why is it not being suspended pending an independent investigation? I just can't work these things out.